Hello again, all you curious culinarians. Dave here again with Bogey's Larder. Today we are going to use our bourbon vanilla burnt caramel sauce and make a delicious pudding. A lot of people like to have a butterscotch pudding. I think this blows the doors off of it. So what we're going to do, we're going to get all of our ingredients together. We have 2 cups of milk, 4 ounces of heavy cream, 4 egg yolks, 2 tablespoons of bourbon, tablespoon of vanilla extract, a 1/4 cup of cornstarch, and 6 ounces of our star, the bourbon vanilla burnt caramel sauce. So first, what we're going to do is mix our egg yolks with our cornstarch. The cornstarch is there, it's going to help thicken the pudding. Get our whisk. And then mix that up until all of the cornstarch is incorporated with the eggs. And it'll be nice and pale and creamy. Now you'll notice that this is a pretty big bowl for the amount of egg yolks I have in here. There's a reason for that. What we're going to do is, next, we're going to take the milk and the cream and we're going to bring it to a simmer and then add it in there to temper it so that we don't cook the egg yolks. And then we're going to put it back on the stove. So we have our sauce pot ready to go. Put our heat on medium high. To that, we're going to add our milk and our heavy cream. Now, as that's starting to come up, we can now add our bourbon vanilla to that. I just think the flavor of the burnt caramel with the bourbon and vanilla added to it makes such a good pairing. Just sure we get all that in there. Now we're going to stir this up so it kind of all incorporates. And we're going to bring this up just to about a simmer. All right, now we come to a nice simmer. We can turn the heat off. And what we're going to do now is add a little bit of this mixture to our egg yolks, a little bit at a time. What we're essentially doing is raising the temperature of the egg yolks without turning it into scrambled eggs. So if you add a little bit of this at a time, you won't have that problem. Just add a couple ladlefuls. As you can see now, the egg yolks are a little bit hotter. We can whisk that and then incorporate this back into our milk and cream. Now we come back onto the stove, and this is where you have to be very, very diligent. Use the rubber spatula, and this is going to go pretty quickly. If you're a little bit nervous because you don't want to cook this too much, you can put it on a lower heat. But this is going to come back up to temperature and start to bubble again, and then the cornstarch in there is what's going to start thickening it. And what we want to do at this point is keep stirring. And we're going to let it bubble for a minute or two because we want to cook out some of that raw cornstarch flavor. And we get all the way in the corners there, and you can see how it's getting nice and thick and beautiful. I love that golden color from the caramel sauce. Nice and creamy. You have to be very diligent. So at this point, we have a nice consistency. That's about what we're looking for. Now we're going to do the next important step. Is take a container and line it with a fine sieve, and we're going to pour our mixture through that. And this is going to do 2 things. It's going to aerate it, and it's going to get rid of any little clumps that may have formed from the eggs. Now using our spatula, we can push this through. And as you see it coming out the other side, it's beautiful. Nice and creamy, thick. Now at this point, make sure you emulsify it, stir it up a little bit. Now we're gonna add our vanilla and our bourbon. The reason why we add it now is if you add the vanilla while this is cooking, you lose a lot of the flavor compounds in the vanilla and it's less potent. And also, because it's still warm, you're gonna get a little bit of that bourbon flavor, but it'll somewhat cook off some of that alcohol so it doesn't have that hot taste. Go ahead and stir that around, incorporate all that. Beautiful, see how it comes back? Nice and creamy and thick. Now at this point, you're gonna wanna cover this with saran wrap and cover the top, push it down on top of the pudding so that you don't get a skin. And after you let it chill for a couple hours, 2-3 hours, we have a beautiful, nice set bourbon vanilla burnt caramel pudding. You can do this over berries. You can do it with ice cream because it's so delicious. Eat it by itself. But I think this is a delicious, different kind of version of a butterscotch pudding. And it's made with love with the bourbon vanilla burnt caramel sauce.